Hello there, welcome. Today we are doing a Age of Empires 2 tier list, and this is going to be the best civs for beginners. So when you're first learning a game, I think it is super smart, and this is probably any game, to pick a single faction, civ, character, whatever it be, and just go with one, and just play that one a whole lot, because that's going to help you learn the actual mechanics of the game, and you're going to not so much focus on what each different character does. Baseline, you're going to just figure out how the actual game plays. So in this event, we're going to be learning how to, well, which civ might be the best for us to just play a single civ and just grind it a ton and learn the actual basis of the game. And yeah, we'll go from there. Now, the reality is all these civs are S tier. There's two lists. The first list is that you can play anything and everything. So whatever civ you want to learn the game with, whatever civ you think is, that's the one, that's what I want to play. Don't be discouraged if it's in D tier in my list or whatever. By all means, go play it. Every civ can teach you how to play the game. So that's kind of the easy answer. Now, I'm a little bit more of an analytical mind. I don't want just the civ that looks cool to me, just the civ that calls out to me. I also want the civ that has kind of the play style, the units, and the ability to really teach me how to play the game from like a standardized position, so I can kind of take that generally and use it to for every other civ. So if you're more of that mindset and you kind of want to see, well, what's the actual differences here, then stick around and we'll get to that. So the other thing I'll mention is I have the tier list in a thumbnail. That is the true tier list. So if you just wanted to see the tier list, you got the thumbnail, you're good to go. You don't have to stick around for the whole video. I know people aren't always the biggest friends to tier list content, so I understand that. And as much as I enjoy doing it, I don't want to waste people's time. So I'll, take it and call it a day. There you go. Okay, so just to get started with this, I have lots of friends who I have tried to introduce to the game, and I've kind of picked civs that I think they would enjoy, and civs that I think would help them learn the game without necessarily giving too much of an advantage. So let's just start from this end. It's not really alphabetical here, but Celts is going to be A, and I put that as spoils you because Celts are really good. They are great infantry civ and siege civ, but they have a really good wood bonus, probably one of the best, if not the best, in the game. And so your lumberjacks kind of make you a little bit more wood than you're expecting. And if you're playing another civ, you're going to notice that you're a lot less wood than when you were playing with Celts. So it spoils you. Its infantry is also quicker, so in the event that you are playing infantry and then you switch to a different civ to play infantry, you're going to notice that they're slower. So there's kind of odds and ends there. They also don't have the most fleshed out tech tree. Their knights aren't going to be that splendid. A lot of their ranged units are kind of mediocre, so it's mainly an infantry siege civ. We're going to leave it that. Great civ to learn, but again, just know you're getting maybe a little bit too spoiled at times. Britons is kind of the same thing. I think a lot of people think Britons are the premier archer civ to learn. I kind of tend to disagree, just because you're being spoiled by the range and also the more efficient shepherds. You only need 5 shepherds to keep town center production instead of 6. So yeah, again, they're an amazing civ. Absolutely go learn them. They're tons and tons of fun, and there's a whole lot to them. I'm putting them in A tier. They're not low. There's just reasons that I'm like, I don't think that they deserve the perfect position. Franks is the same way, but with knights. This is the premier knight civ that most beginners will try to learn. It's really good at just setting up your economy for knight production, spamming a whole lot of knights. That being said, if you play a bunch of them, you're going to realize your economy needs to be a little bit more robust to achieve the same amount of knight production. You also are going to stop. You're not going to research bloodlines because they don't have to research bloodlines. They just get it free. So it's a couple of little things that they're spoiling you a little too much on, in my opinion. Burgundians, we're going to be putting in the B tier. Burgundians just have kind of an interesting eco bonus. It requires you to research the eco text. So arguably, you could say that actually makes them maybe better for A because they're trying to teach you how to research eco text, but I don't know. You're getting them an age earlier. They're a little bit cheaper. I wouldn't say the fact that you're getting them an age earlier means that they're definitely a bit different. They also have some gimmicks to them. For example, having the Cavalier and Castle Age. That's a really big power spike. No other civ gets that. No other civ is looking to try and utilize that, as well as their Flemish Revolution. So there's a couple of gimmicks that I wouldn't quite put them higher than B personally, but they're, again, great civ. I absolutely love playing them. They're probably in my top 5, top 3. Teutons are going to be an A. They're really good. Again, kind of spoiling you because you have the armor bonus on your melee units. That's really, really good, but they're going to start performing a little bit less than you're used to when you play other civs. However, the thing that's really good about Teutons is that it does force you to farm. Well, to utilize their eco bonus, it really gets you to try and farm. You have cheaper farms, so it's a lot easier to throw a ton of those down. And that can be a really good wood savings bonus. I absolutely love that bonus, and I think it's really good for beginners because it encourages you to farm. Again, kind of spoiling you. Mostly civs will be spoiling you. There's only, I think, 2 civs I've put in S tier, so that's the metric is pretty much everything's in A, and then there's a couple in S and a couple lower. So with the Goths, they're going to be A as well. Really good infantry civ. They are getting cheaper infantry, so you won't be used, again, you'll maybe not spend as much res to get infantry with this civ than with others, so some, you know, spoilage are going on, but it's a really good civ. They have a really good bonus. I don't think they kill hunt quicker anymore. I think that was removed, so that won't be an issue. But you get loom earlier. Well, I mean, you can get loom right away because it's free and it researches instantly. You can get a villa ahead. So there's a couple of nice little things about the Goths. The major thing is that they have a very streamlined playstyle, kind of like the Britons and the Franks. You just go infantry. You do nothing else. In fact, I'll put those all right next to each other. This is your archer spamming civ. This is your cavalry spamming civ, and this is your infantry spamming civ. So put them in the same vein there. Huns. This is going to be our first D tier civ. Huns, I do not recommend to my friends or people that are just starting the game. I think Huns creates some pretty bad habits because you don't make houses. Huns can't make houses. And making houses is a very core part of the game because it's the only way you increase your population space. Well, not the only way. It's the primary way you increase your population space, and that is super duper key. If you ever play Huns, you're just missing out on a whole section of the game, essentially, and that feels great, and it's easier to learn the game, for sure, as a Hun player. But if you ever switch off of Huns, you've learned some pretty bad habits. You get housed all the time because you're not making houses. So I wouldn't recommend Huns just because they don't have to make houses. If you're just like, dude, I don't care what civ I play, I just want to play Age of Empires and I want to have a more easy time of doing it, then Huns is for you. Just play Huns and don't play anything else because you don't have to make houses. That takes out a whole metric of the game for you. And you can just, put walls down, buildings, and military production buildings, everything else. And yeah, you don't have to worry about it. So Huns is definitely a great civ and super strong, but I wouldn't recommend it for beginners that are trying to learn pretty much most of the game. Or all of it, for that matter. Okay, so Vikings. I'm going to be putting in Spoils You. They get Wheelbarrow and Handcart for free, which is really, really strong and really, really good for their eco. However, you never have to research them, and I think it's a good habit to know that you need to research those as well as figure out when you want to research those. And Vikings kind of strips that away. They're a great archer civ, though. Great naval civ. Absolutely love them. So A tier, I think, is for them. Spanish. I think I'm going to put Spanish in not bad for beginners. The main reason is they don't have crossbow, which is a very integral unit, I would say, to learn. So it's more of a tech tree thing for them. They also don't need gold for their blacksmith techs, which again, is really strong, but it's kind of spoiling you because there's a couple of blacksmith techs, like fletching primarily, that you really do need gold in order to get. So, I don't know. We're going to leave them in B. Going over to the Portuguese now, I think this is an incredible civ. Yeah, we're just gonna put it in A. Berries give you some wood, so it's not too much of a different eco bonus. You're kind of getting spoiled a little bit there. I think the major thing that's spoiling you, though, is that your units, military land units, namely maybe all units, they cost less gold. So it's kind of the discount thing that's going on with the Goths, is you're buying units for a little bit less than they actually cost for every other civ. So that's where they're going to go there, spoiling you for sure. Bohemians, they're spoiling you. Your spear units are getting a little bit bonus damage, a little bit more bonus damage. I think that's fine, though. I really don't think that's causing any issues from the habit side of things. It's mainly that you get the mining techs for free, so it's kind of the same vein as, for example, the Vikings. You never have to click those, and I think it's good to learn, like, oh, when should I click this one? Is it a useful thing to do? And to remember to do it. So we're going to put Bohemians in A as well. Their tech tree, they don't really have the best cav. They're very much streamlined as well. So Poles can be a little bit trickier. I'm going to put in B, though. The major thing that's different about Poles is just their farming. Their farming is a little bit different. It's really strong. It's really good. but that's something to learn. You need to put down a full work, which a lot of beginners might like just because it's the same size as a farm, so you can actually have perfectly sparse farms. You can't do that with any other civ, and you're going to be a little bit spoiled by how much food you get compared to some other civs. But they're a great, absolutely great cavalry civ. Tons of fun. Love them. Lithuanians. Okay, Lithuanians I think used to be like an S tier beginner civ, just because they had started with 100 food. My mind has changed. My mind will probably change for the years to come. But the reason I don't want that anymore, basically what happened is in your Dark Age, you'd have 100 extra food. You'd never have to force drop off your vills in order to afford the next vill, because sometimes you have to do that. So that was really good for beginners. It was really nice. You had a really smooth Dark Age. But I do think that's an important skill to learn. So sometimes you need to just take your vills into your TC and force them to drop off some food so you can queue the next one. And Lithuanians kind of just take that away. So again, I think they're spoiling you. Great cav civ, tons of fun, really interesting bonus, especially one that encourages you to get relics. So there's a lot to be said about this. This is borderline S, but I personally am like, meh. That's still a skill I want someone to learn when they're first learning the game. So if I'm trying to min-max this, we're gonna put them in A. Italians, same thing. Italians are so close to S tier for me. The only reason I'm not gonna put Italians in S tier, because their tech tree is full. They have pretty much everything. They have really strong archers, good gunpowder. The major thing is that they have technology, sorry, not technology, age up. Their age up costs a little bit less. So a little bit less for feudal age. That probably won't matter. You probably won't notice that. Less for castle age, less for imperial age. Pretty much, if you play Italians and you only play Italians, you're going to run into the issue of, oh, I'm a different civ. I want to age up. Why don't I have enough res for it? It's a very minor thing, but it's enough for me to want to say, I'm going to knock them down to A. Just know that they're kind of like Lithuanians. That's a pretty lame reason to put them in A, but I'm being very picky for my S tier civs. So super good archer civ to learn. They also have fully upgraded Hussar, so really nice tech tree. Love them. Definitely try them out. Sicilians. This one I think we're going to put in... We'll put in not bad for beginners. The major thing I would say with Sicilians is just to remember to build a donjon instead of a barracks. They also kind of skew things a little bit with having less countered units, so 40% less bonus damage. Their archers take like 1 less damage against skirmishers, and then their scouts, cav units take a lot less damage from spear units. So that's kind of spoiling you. I'd almost put that in spoils you, but the fact that you kind of want to build a donjon over a barracks is a little bit different, right? It's a little bit more gimmicky compared to other civs. So we're going to put them in B, and we'll be happy with that. Moving on to the Romans. Romans is a spoil you civ. I think it's really good. You're basically just playing with like a 5% boost to everything. That's a... What is that called? There's like a handicap. Yeah, 5% handicap in your favor. So your economy is just going to feel a little bit smoother over everyone else's, but that's great. The major thing, actually, I would say, is to avoid Romans is just because they're a DLC that's kind of expensive. You're $15 for just one civ. And I mean, that's great for campaign, single player, whatever else, but as a multiplayer person, that's a little bit pricey for me. So I wouldn't want to throw them in S tier or anything. I mean, they also don't have the tech tree I would want for an S tier civ. But yeah, I would just say that's kind of an expensive civ to buy on Steam. So we're going to put them in A. I can't put them any lower than that because they're great. So moving on to Byzantines. Byzantines is just a spoil you civ. You get a lot of cheap counter units, which is definitely something to focus on. That's a really good bonus to have. And especially since you want to be building cheap counter units. But again, you're kind of making more counter units and having them for a cheaper price than if you were to play any other civ. So a little bit of spoiling you going on there. Really nice, fun defensive civ. Pretty good for archer players. And then just really good for countering what other civs do because they have a unique unit that does that. They have bonuses. Yeah, they're great. Ethiopians. This spoils you. You're going to get really used to having faster attacking archers. You also get plus 100 food and gold at the start of every age. So a little bit of a boost to your economy every time you age up. And that's nice, but sometimes the struggle to get resources and really like furbish out your economy at the start of every age is key to learning the game, because you're trying to be like, oh, what am I making this age, or at the very start of this age, this is how many I need on food, wood, whatever else. So they can kind of take that away. But either way, they also give you free pikemen, so there's a lot of spoiling going on. Really, really strong civ, probably one of the best archer civs to just one trick. So we'll leave them up there. We're pretty happy with that, but I'm not going to put them in S tier. Malians, same thing. I believe they've got really good mining, and you're getting, I think, pierce armor? I could be wrong. But you got an infantry bonus there as well. So Malians are pretty great. They have everything. Again, it's mainly just they're giving you a little bit more gold, and not other civs aren't going to be doing that. They also don't have the most fleshed out tech tree, so we're going to leave them in B, though they do have a really good tech tree. So by all means, they're like 9 out of 10 on the tech tree. So moving on to Berbers. This is, again, just kind of the discount issue. It's spoiling you a little too much. It's giving you a little too much. It's just like Byzantines, but for cavalry. It discounts all their cavalry. Oh, maybe it should be more like Goths, who discount all their infantry. So great civ, tons of fun, really good for beginners. Their villagers move a little bit faster, which means you probably won't lose vills to boars and stuff, which is nice. But I mean, again, that's something to try and learn and get better at with the game. And you know, you're getting spoiled by having cheaper units. So leave them there. Berbers are great, especially if you want to go cavals and cavalry. Highly recommend. Turks, we're gonna be putting in. Oh, what? Whoa! Sorry, I started putting these guys in the wrong one. They're up here. Malians and Berbers are in A. Sorry. B, we're gonna put Turks in B just because they only have access to spearmen and skirm. They don't have elite skirm, and they don't have pike. Those are really important counter units to learn how to use, and Turks really pushes you away from utilizing them. That's not necessarily a bad thing, because gold units are kind of king, and you want to have a gold unit in every comp, and you really want to focus on making gold units work. So I can kind of get it, but the major thing is that you're mainly just behind on your counter units and your easy counters, and that's something I think everyone should be learning with the game. And they don't really, you know, beyond feudal, they're not really encouraging you to ever use them. So we're gonna put them in B, but it's not a too bad thing, because, you know, gold units are important too. Armenians, I think, are going to be going in C. First C tier civ. Armenians, both Armenians and Georgians are going to go in here. They're both great civs. Armenians are great infantry civ, pretty decent with archers. Georgians are an absolute premier cav civ. The main thing is that these guys are the mule cart civs. So you don't have the standard mining camp, lumber camp, and I think you do have the mill. But you have different, I guess, collection area, and it moves with you. So it's just a little tricky because it's different. It's gimmicky from the rest of the civs, and economy is like super core to this game. So if you're playing them and then you switch to someone else, it's kind of a learning experience. So we're gonna put them in C just for those mule carts mainly, and nothing really else beyond that I can think of. Magyars. This is gonna be our first S tier. It surprised me, but when I looked at Magyars, I realized this civ has pretty much everything. Now, they don't have camels, and they don't have, oh, what else was it? Oh, gunpowder. They don't really have gunpowder. So they are missing a couple things in their tech tree. However, they have a very, very standard economy. You're not really getting any crazy economy bonuses. They have a very strong scout rush, but they also can play archers super well. They can play cav archers. They can play knights, and pretty much all the premier units that you think of in the game, they have. So I think they're honestly S tier perfect for beginners, because they have an absolutely fleshed out and beautiful tech tree, as well as having a really strong like scout opener and encouraging way to play, but not limited to. So you have lots of different ways to play it. It's also just standard. If you do something with Magyars, you can pretty much do something with every other civ. Just note your scout cav is going to do a little bit less damage. So I'm going to put them in S tier. Feel free to fight me on that. I myself don't play a ton of Magyars, but I really do think they are just an absolute perfect civ for beginners. You can't go wrong with them as far as I'm concerned. Maybe my opinion changes in the future. Who knows? Bulgarians are going to be putting in... Not bad for beginners. It's the same thing as Spanish. They just don't have crossbow. That's the main knock, really. So nothing else really to be said about that. I love Bulgarians. I think they're great. They're absolutely awesome. Saracens is going to be the other S tier perfect civ for beginners. I actually would probably put Saracens above Magyars. If I had to only recommend one single civ, I would say Saracens. The reason is that they have pretty much everything the Magyars have. They just don't have Paladin or cavalier. They only have knights, which knight play is really prevalent in Castle Age. So I think they get away with going knights. I do knights with them all the time. You just can't upgrade them in Imperial, so that is probably the one big knock. That being said, they have camels. They're going to teach you how to play camels. They also have gunpowder, and they're also just really generic everything. Their archer opening is really good because you can break through palisades quicker, but everything's super generic. They have fully upgraded Hussar, fully upgraded Arbalest, fully upgraded Camel with an HP bonus. And they pretty much have the most open trick tree, I think, of all. They also are a really good naval civilization. And then the thing that I really like about them is that they encourage you to use the market. They have a market bonus. And that's something I think a lot of newer players don't utilize. I know I didn't for the longest time, is the market is just a saving grace. And so I think it's a civ that has a super open tech tree and a super, like, tons of options which to play. And it also encourages you to use a very core mechanic of the game in the market. So I think this is potentially the civ for beginners. I totally understand if it's not your vibe, you don't want to play it. Magyars is another one. And, well, again, as we said, any of these civs you can pick and play. But big fan of the Saracens. Absolutely love them. They also have a really, really strong unique unit, which can totally give you that dopamine hit of this unit feels uncounterable without being, like, too broken. So happy with that. We're going to put them there. Persians, I think, are in spoils you. It's mainly just the fact that you have a hungrier TC. And by hungrier, I mean you make more villagers quicker, which is good for your economy, but I don't know. That's spoiling you a bit. I don't know. I'd be very tempted to put them in S tier, but the higher HP town centers and faster working town center, oh, and then the docks as well. We're going to put them in A tier mainly because I don't want to try and encourage any douchers. Anyone that's trying to learn the game, don't be a Persian doucher. Not fun. But I do like Persians. They're great. Aztecs. We're actually going to put all the Mayan civs. We're gonna put them in B. I want to say C just because they don't have any cavalry. Where's the Incans? Oh my goodness, they're right there. But the American civs are really fun civ. They encourage you to try and play basically full infantry. There's no cavalry options for them unless you convert a stable. Eagles are great. They're all kind of the same metric. I think they're not bad at all for beginners. Just know that you're not learning cavalry play. I want to put them in C, honestly. I want to put them with Georgians and stuff, but they've been in the game for so long, it doesn't feel right to do at the same time. Because Eagle Warriors is just a core part of the game, and it's probably good to learn how Eagle Warriors play, and yeah, so we're going to leave them there for now in B. Moving on to the Slavs, we're going to put these in Spoils You. Really good farming bonus, really strong cavalry civ. Tons of fun. Nothing else really to say about that. It's just the fact that your farmers work better, and no other civ is, well, there's a couple civs that could be somewhat similar, but for the most part, they are spoiling you on that front. Also, they have a team bonus that gives you population space for military buildings. Super good for beginners, but we're, again, leaning a little bit into the Huns world of you don't need to build as many houses. Still a good thing. Oh, I guess Incans are similar way. All right, anyway. Cumans. We're going to put Cumans in tricky, mainly because they thrive off of, town center, second town center. If you play Cumans completely standard, like, they're up here for sure. They're really easy civ to play, but the fact that you're trying to build a second TC in Feudal Age, or a Siege Workshop for that matter, there's a couple of things that encourage you maybe the wrong way compared to other civs. So a little bit gimmicky. We're going to put them in C for now. Maybe we want to change that. Who knows? Turks. Or not Turks, good golly. Tatars, we're going to be putting in A tier. Tatars are absolutely amazing. Love Tatars. Hill bonus is really nice. Free thumb ring's really nice. Your sheep lasting a little longer is really nice. And that's kind of the problem, is there's just a little bit too much that they're giving you for free that you're going to notice missing when you switch off of them. So love Tatars, but, you know, not S tier. And pretty much nothing else in this list is going to be S tier, just because it's hard to beat Saracens and Magyars when it comes to generic and solid. Mongols, we put them in A as well. Mongols are absolutely super strong civ. You just get a ton of food off a hunt, and I think that's really spoiling you. And that's probably the main knock against the civ, is that you have way more food to deal with than any other civ. And if you're getting used to that, then it's going to be hard to switch off. So Hindustanis, where to put these in, not bad for beginners. The main thing with the Hindustanis is that they don't have knights. They just have camels. And I don't like that. When a civ doesn't have knights, I think that is a little more difficult for beginners to learn. I'm not sure I'm going to say it's tricky to play well, just because they have bonuses that encourage making villagers, which is probably the #1 thing any beginner should learn how to do, is just spam only vills. And then they're a really good counter civilization as well. So Hindustanis we're going to put in B tier. Also pretty open tech tree besides those knights. Kind of the difference between them and Saracens is Saracens have access to knights, but no like further iterations of it, no cavalier or paladin, whereas Hindustanis don't have access to it at all. So you can see how much I value having just the knights in your castle age at the very, start of castle age. It's super important. Gurjaras is going to be the same way. Same with Dravidians. I could probably, Gurjaras should be a little lower just because they have an interesting start. And if you're trying to get with their bonus, you're going to have berries at the start of your, at the base of your TC, and that's going to be maybe a little confusing. I don't think it matters too much. You can play them standard after you take the berries, but that would make your sheep last a little longer. And then you're also supposed to be garrisoning your sheep. So the starting bonus, sorry if you heard the alarm there. Starting bonus is just a little bit too different. They have a little too different of an eco to start with. Bengalis can come up here though. Bengalis and Dravidians. Dravidians, I almost want to say, are spoiling you. But again, they have a really terrible stable. I don't think they have knights, so I'm not really going to recommend Dravidians for that reason, but they get plus 200 wood in every age, which is really, really solid, spoiling you again. Bengalis, again, no knights, so they're going to just be in here as well. The Ratha is a very kind of tricky unit to use as well. We're going to put them in B. These civs have good tech trees and stuff. It's mainly just they're missing knights, and then they have some slight spoiling going on, which can be a good thing or a bad thing, whatever case maybe. Khmer we're going to put in not D. I was tempted to put him in D, but Khmer we're going to put in C. The thing with Khmer is that you don't have to drop off farms, so you can have really lazily placed farms, which is good for a noob, but it's not going to encourage you necessarily to put your farms in the best way. But you still get encouraged to do that by keeping your vills safe because they're closer to TC. The major thing with Khmer is that you don't have to have the building requirement to age up, and I think that can be really detrimental. When you're ready to age up and you're about to click and you don't have a stable built or 2 feudal age buildings built, that can be really harmful because now all of a sudden you have to quickly throw those down. You're going to be behind another minute in going up. So Khmer kind of facilitate that, and I think that's maybe not the best. In fact, you're encouraged not to build those buildings because that's part of your bonus. So I wouldn't put Khmer up there. You also can garrison vills in houses, and I think that can spoil you a little bit as well. Other civs can't do that. So Burmese, we're going to be putting up here in A. You get it's the same thing as Malians, or not Malians, sorry, Bohemians. Bohemians get the free mining techs. Burmese get free wood upgrade techs. These are the most important techs in the game. You have to click them. And if you're playing Burmese, you don't have to click them. So most important eco techs, at least, you need to make sure you get those wood upgrades. They spoil you a little too much on that end, but they have a really good open tech tree. They can pretty much do anything. Do like the Burmese a lot. Malay is going to be in tricky. Main thing with Malay is that they age up faster, which actually means you want to have longer prior ages. So to go castle, you want to have a longer feudal age. To go feudal, you want to have a little bit longer of a dark age. And if you're trying to, play any generic civ, that is not the case at all. So it's a little bit different from Malay. You age up a lot quicker, and then you're like, oh crap, there's all these things I want to do, but you don't have the resources to do them because you aged up so fast, right? And you weren't collecting resources during that time as long. So Malay are a little bit tricky. We're gonna put them in there. Vietnamese, man, I'm trying to be quick, but there's just so much to go over. Vietnamese are gonna be an A tier. A little bit of spoiling going on with the archer HP or just range unit HP. They have really, really strong range units, really, really open tech tree. Missing a couple of things, but honestly, they're pretty good base civ. They do show you where your opponent's town centers are starting, which can spoil you a little bit. I don't think that's the worst thing ever, but you won't ever lose scouts to a town center, and I think that's a good pain to kind of learn early on and realizing, oh, I need to be very careful about when I'm scouting the other side of the map. Vietnamese kind of take that away. Jurchens, it's the same as these civs right here. They don't have access to knights. In fact, Khitans and Jurchens will be putting up at the same time. Khitans I'm going to put a little bit lower. Jurchens, you don't have access to knights. Other than that, their eco is amazing. In fact, they have no decay bonus, which is pretty much as good as like the Lithuanian bonus, and it gives you a very smooth Dark Age and a little bit more of a food bonus early on, which is really, really nice. I absolutely love Jurchens. They have a super open tech tree and a really fun hand cannon unit in the Grenadier, but they don't have knights. And again, those knights are just super duper important. They are kind of replaced with their unique unit and the Step Lancer at the stable, so you can get away with it. It's not necessarily as bad as some of these other civs, but that's a core unit that I just think everyone needs to learn how to play, learn how strong it is and how you can end games with it, kind of a thing. Chinese is going to be the only other D tier civ on this list, just because their start is so different. You can't make vills at the very start. You have to get all your villagers working on food right away. You don't build houses either. The start is just so vastly different compared to any other civ that it's very tricky to switch from them to another civ. And the start is going to happen every single game, right? That Dark Age is just so tricky, so confusing. Other than that, though, they are a great civ to learn. So if you want to tackle them, by all means do it. Just know that their opening, their Dark Age is so different to everyone else's that I'm putting them at the D tier. And I'm not saying it's necessarily teaching bad habits, but yeah. In fact, I'd say Huns are probably still worse, just because you need to learn how to make houses. I think that's smart. Three Kingdom civs, they're all going to go in C, tricky to play well. It's mainly the fact that they're missing trebs. They have heroes instead. I think heroes are a bit of a noob trap. Don't build heroes. I mean, if you're going for like multiplayer playstyle anyway, probably don't build heroes until, you know, you're drowning in resources anyway. And then, yeah, not having trebs is the main thing. They don't have trebs in their castle. You have to build a siege workshop and build traction trebs. And that's just very different from other civs. They also have some wonky eco bonuses going on, especially with like the Shu, the Wu, getting food from military buildings. Some of that's just a little too weird. So we're going to put them in C. Again, if you like those factions, by all means play them, but I would not recommend them to beginners. Plus, it's the DLC you got to buy, right? Koreans, we're going to put them up in A tier. Koreans are really, really solid. Discount bonus is mainly the only reason that they're going to be in A tier. They're spoiling you a little bit. But they have great archers. Tower defense is always fun to learn and fun to utilize, so Koreans are great. Don't tower rush me. I will be very sad. Japanese, the final one, I'm going to put in a... Whoa, whoa, whoa. What just happened? Oh, I switched them with Sicilians. That's funny. I'm going to put Japanese in A. It's a discount thing, but it's a discount for your mining and lumber camps. Those are discounted, as well as I think docks? No, fishing ships. I don't remember the bonus. Regardless, they have a really easy Dark Age and really good Feudal Age, and that and faster attacking infantry too means they perform a little bit better. Japanese are a really good civ to learn, and they're really, really good for beginners, but just because they're spoiling you a little bit too much means I'm going to put them in A instead of S. Okay, there we have it. I tried to be a little quick with this. I maybe rushed myself a little bit. I could go more in depth, but I don't want to make the two longest of tier list videos. These would be the, kind of the format. As you can see, it's very much weighted to the top end. But these are the civs I would recommend to beginners to learn. Pick your favorite, obviously, first things first. And even if it's Huns or Chinese, just pick your favorite and play with it. But if you're looking for things that have all options available and somewhat generic starts that you can just translate every skill, basically, you learn from these civs to other civs, these are your premier civs. The major difference is Saracens don't have Paladin. They're maybe spoiling you, maybe, a little bit with the market. And then Magyars do lack things like camel, gunpowder, a couple of the extra tech tree options within the game. But yeah, those two I think are basically perfect. A lot of these over here, again, I think are pretty much basically perfect as well. In A, there's just a little bit too much that they might be giving you that you might get used to, spoiled by. And then, yeah, list goes on, but that's kind of that's the tier list. I'm happy with it. We're going to leave it at that for now. Subject to change, because my opinion changes. And again, this is very biased. This is just the way I feel about things. I'm only a 1300 elo. Well, almost 1400, but I mean, I did hit 1400 once. But anyway, sorry, 1300 elo player. It doesn't really matter. I'm trying to inflate my ego there. So take it all with a grain of salt, because I am not going to be the premier person to get this list from. But that being said, I really don't think it matters too much as a beginner. Pick your favorite, go nuts, have fun. That's the whole joy of the game. So, all right, hopefully you enjoyed that, and thanks for watching. I will talk to you later.